What if I told you that the you think you are doesn't actually exist? What if your entire sense of being a separate individual is the most convincing illusion ever created? What if the shocking truth is that you're not separate from everyone else? You're just temporarily responsible for a tiny portion of something infinite. If you're ready to have your entire sense of self turned upside down, hit subscribe. Because at One Paradox Collective, we don't just question reality, we dissolve the boundaries you thought were real. Here's what you've been taught. You are an individual. You have thoughts, feelings, and experiences that belong to you. You're separate from everyone else, living your own unique life in your own separate body. Here's the thing though, individual identity is like thinking a wave is separate from the ocean. The wave feels real, looks distinct, has its own shape and movement, but it's never actually separate from the water that forms it. Remember our cosmic soup from the last video? Your sense of being you comes from having temporary responsibility for a small portion of universal consciousness. Think of it like this. Universal consciousness is everywhere, like air filling an infinite space. Your individual identity is like having a soap bubble floating in that infinite air. What makes you feel separate? Just a thin membrane, a temporary energetic boundary. The profound truth is that what's inside your bubble is exactly the same as what's outside. The only difference is that temporary boundary. Those thoughts you think are yours. They're actually universal consciousness flowing through your particular membrane. You're not creating thoughts. You're receiving them, filtering them, and adding your unique response. It's like being a radio receiver. The radio waves exist everywhere, but your radio can only tune into certain frequencies. Your personality is just your unique tuning mechanism, the particular way you receive and process universal consciousness. But here's where it gets really profound. Even though you're not separate, you are responsible for what happens in your section of consciousness. You can't say nothing matters because it's all an illusion. That's spiritual bypassing. The illusion of separation exists for a reason. To give consciousness a way to experience itself from countless different perspectives. You're like a gardener who's been given a small plot in an infinite garden. You don't own the soil, the water, or the seeds, but you're completely responsible for how you tend your section. So why does universal consciousness create this illusion of separation in the first place? What if universal consciousness creates this illusion of separation because it needs to know itself fully? What if everything remaining unified and undifferentiated would make it impossible to experience love, growth, creativity, or understanding? These experiences might require the appearance of other. You are consciousness exploring what it's like to be you. Every person is consciousness exploring what it's like to be them. We're all the same universal awareness, temporarily pretending to be separate so we can experience the magnificent diversity of existence. Here's the beautiful paradox. The more you realize you're not separate, the more important your choices become, not less. Why? Because what you do in your section of consciousness affects the whole field. When you create love, wisdom, or peace in your section, you're literally upgrading the entire system. When you create fear, hatred, or confusion, you're degrading the shared field that everyone else has to navigate. If individual identity is an illusion, does that mean nothing matters? Absolutely not. It means everything matters even more. You're not just living for yourself. You're temporarily stewarding a piece of infinite consciousness. Every choice you make ripples through the entire field. The person who cuts you off in traffic, that's consciousness exploring what it's like to be stressed and rushed. The person who shows you unexpected kindness, that's consciousness exploring what it's like to be generous and loving. Understanding that your individual identity is an illusion is incredibly liberating. It means you're not stuck with any fixed identity. You're not limited by your past, your circumstances, or even your current personality. Your consciousness itself, temporarily playing the role of being you. And consciousness is infinitely creative, infinitely capable of growth and transformation. So what if the you've been defending, improving, and worrying about your whole life is just a beautiful, temporary costume that consciousness is wearing? What if realizing you're not separate doesn't diminish you, but reveals you to be part of something infinitely magnificent? What if the ultimate spiritual joke is that what you've been seeking, connection, wholeness, love, has been what you are all along? Drop a comment and tell us. If you knew your individual identity was just a temporary role you're playing, how would that change how you show up in the world? And if this perspective shifts something fundamental for you, share it with someone who's ready to question what they think they know about themselves. Remember, at One Paradox Collective, we don't promise you'll find yourself. We promise you'll realize there was never anyone to find.